It's such an honor to be here and kind of spend some time, and so thank you very much for your time. I want to ask you a couple questions and also put a pin in the fact that you've been doing this since 1967, almost 60 years now in real estate and running a brokerage and being involved in the real estate community. So if you want to take us back to the beginning of kind of the MLS and the association, what did that look like back in 1967?
Well, it was very interesting and very different than it is today. I was one of very few women who were in the industry. The first woman who brought me along was Edna Thomas, and she was one of the only women in Oshkosh that did real estate.
Okay.
And so I would frequently go to meetings in rooms full of suits and wingtips, and I was the only woman.
Okay.
So it took courage to do that. But in the beginning, our board office, the RANW board office, was on the second floor of a building on Court Street.
Okay.
And we were kind of like the disciples. We would go up the stairs to this wood-floored room that echoed and had folding church chairs and folding tables, and that's where we would have our RANW meetings, and that's where we would have our MLS meetings.
Okay. Wow, that's so much different, obviously, with the computers and all of this. So how did you know what the new listings were back then without computers? And some people may be watching this knowing, maybe not knowing, that there weren't computers back in 1967.
No, there weren't. There were folding tables and folding chairs, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
And we would have our board meetings there, but every Monday we would have our MLS meetings, and all the office owners would come up there at 8:30 in the morning with their 3-ring binders that had all of the listings in RANW or in the board, as we knew it, the Oshkosh board, in that 3-ring binder in plastic sheets. And then the meeting was that they would go through it, and the broker had to say if the listing had sold, or if it was still available, or if there was a price reduction, and then they would then insert their new listings. And they weren't nice to each other. Their goal was to kind of fry somebody or several people every Monday. So it was a very stressful situation.
Wow. Very competitive.
But, yeah, that's how co-broke started.
Sure.
That's how they knew what someone else's listings were.
Wow.
So now they're all in a computer, and you just sit down at home and open that up, and there are all the listings for you with all the information. So it was a much different world, and that shows you one thing you can be sure of is change. But the one sadness for me always was when they combined Oshkosh and Appleton. And there was no I always felt they should have left a skeleton office in Oshkosh, because the camaraderie, the relationships between the brokers, negative or positive, kind of dissolved at that point, because it became a bigger group, and it was no longer easy to do that. People couldn't call, one broker couldn't call another and get an immediate answer or walk into their office. So some change is good, and some change you wish didn't change quite so much.
Staying with a little bit smaller, more intimate piece, but and it's grown exponentially since then. So those, could you imagine those? What would happen right now if we went back to that same thing? Like
it would be impossible. It would be chaos, right? Good chaos, but chaos.
It would be all chaos. So if you were to now fast forward and jump from 1967 to today. And let's talk about new agents that are coming in here. They're full of excitement and they got their license. What words of advice would you give a brand new agent that has just joined the board or has just started their real estate career? What would you give them for advice?
I always tell people the real estate industry is a strange animal, because you really work with your enemies or your competition, not necessarily enemies, but your competition. So it is a strange animal, and it's all about relationships. Relationships with your broker, who is going to train you and monitor what you do, relationships with your buyers, the service that you give them, and your sellers and the service that you give them, but also your relationships with other brokers and other real estate agents who you're going to work in a co-broke situation with. So you have in-house customers and you have out-house customers. You need to have relationships with all of them, because even other agents in other offices, you don't only work with them once, you work with them many times. And so those relationships are so important. And buyers and sellers want to work with who they know. They want to work with someone they can trust. They want to work with someone who will communicate with them, who will return their phone calls. That is the essentials of the business. Someone who knows those contracts inside and out and can explain them and can answer questions about them.
So yeah, that you made a valid point, and I think sometimes we forget as realtors that when we work with a buyer or seller, that's a great experience, and we work with them, and then maybe not work with them again for another 8 to 10 years. But that agent relationship, I think, is where you pinned it perfectly. Like, you have to have that relationship with that agent, because even though you had a kind of a tough transaction, coming back and communicating with that other agent, staying on top of it, that agent might have a buyer for your next listing. So it all it's essential for kind of the ecosystem of our business. So it's very unusual. I agree. It's a very unusual business where
And I always tell people the most important thing is to complete your circles so that you don't just leave somebody hanging. You have to be sure that your circle of communication is complete and that you're getting back to people. You just can't assume the other person knows you did it. You have to send out a text or a call or an email that, yes, I completed what you asked me to do.
For all of those.
This is where we are now, For all your relationships, you need to, in your head, think about, did I complete my circle of relationships?
That's a good example of what we should do. So now, switching from the sales agent, the new sales agent, let's talk about the new energetic broker that's going to open up their own brokerage. And you started with Schwab Realty back in 1967, and you and Dennis created that and brought it to where it is right now. Talk with me about the new level of brokers that are out there. What things should they be looking for when they start their brokerage?
Well, everybody is new at one point, and Dennis and I were new among established brokerages. But again, the most important thing is to, before you start, have your core values and your goals and what you want to represent in the community, and how you want the community to view you, and how you want the real estate community to view you. And you have to hold those core values through your whole career. And then you do the physicalness of setting up your office and recruiting your salespeople. But you have to educate everybody the reason that they're there. What are they representing? How do you want to be represented in the community with buyers and sellers so that they will become customers for life? So you have to approach it very gently, one step at a time. It doesn't happen overnight. You can't do what I call apple picking and sit there and wait for listings to fall into your lap. You have to create relationships with buyers, with sellers, with other real estate people, because you're going to be co-broking with them, and so you need that relationship because you want to be able to sell their listings and you want them to be able to sell yours.
Right. And picking the right agents for your company is very important too, because you said it, and I think you made it seem so simple. but I want to extract it a little bit when you said core values. And I think when you look at it and you have a true core value in your business and you filter, you push everything through there to see if that's going to work for you, whether it's new technology or a new hire, and you use that core value, it almost becomes easy. It's simple, right? Maybe not always easy, but it's simple to have that core value and then use that as your benchmark. And I think that's probably where most of your successes come in. It's just building that core and staying true to that core.
And sometimes you just need to walk away from things if they don't fit into your core values.
Yeah.
My core value always came from somebody in another industry, and that was you help people to get what they want, and the money will follow.
Oh, sure.
So you have to make it about people and communicating with people and helping people to get where they want to be. You have to listen to hear and not listen to speak.
Yeah.
You have to give people a chance to tell you their story.
Yeah.
And then you can proceed from there and see if that fits into your core values, and if it does, you can help them.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, you may need to walk away.
Yeah. Saying no sometimes is the best thing to do.
Right.
It's hardest thing to do sometimes, but it's sometimes the best thing to do. So
I always tell my staff, no is a complete sentence. You don't have to explain why.
Yeah.
You just need to say no and walk away because it doesn't fit with who you are.
Yeah, yeah, and you have a whole, over the last 59 years, it's got to be a tough struggle to keep that line going with the fact that there's a lot of distractions we have, a lot of technology, but if you stay with that, you're on the right path. So
And
that's
I
great.
have trained hundreds and hundreds of people, agents,
Yeah.
some of who are with me presently and some of who aren't, but they are all good people and they all had good training, and it came from me because nobody left or practiced in my office if they were not well trained.
Yeah, yeah, that's hard. That's a hard part to keep on top of that too, right?
Right.
Staying on top of that. So, well, this is great. I mean, I love the fact that you make it sound so simple, right? When you look at it and you look back at the 59 years, would you have ever thought that this is how your life and your career would have turned out?
No, I wouldn't, because basically it has to be fun to walk through your front door every single day. You have to like the people you work with, and you have to like the people that you work for. And it has to be a joy. If it's not a joy, it's not worth doing.
Yeah.
And you build your legacy one day at a time. And every day you go through that door, you have to keep in mind what you're about and how you want your business to be viewed and how you want other people to talk about your business.
Yeah.
So that's the hard thing, because it's a day at a time, and all of a sudden 59 years later, here you are.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if anybody that's watching this has to totally understand why you do what you do, because the passion is still just as live as it was probably in the beginning, and your energy is beyond off the charts. So I want to thank you for your time spent with me, and I'm honored to be spending time with you as well too. I've learned so much, and it's great to just kind of go back sometimes and,
Right.
and remind ourselves what
See
we've
where
done.
we came from.
Yes. So thank you again so much
You're
for
welcome.
today.